Hi everyone, welcome to CYC. My name's Nathan Hayes and today I want to talk to you about fear. Now we often think of fear as a negative emotion, but today I want to put that to the side and I want you to consider it just as a motivating factor. If you want something, it's well and good. You chase after it and maybe you get it. But if you don't get it, life goes on. You're okay. However, if you're afraid of something, you become almost feral. A primal switch is switched over, and if you're really afraid, you're desperate for any way out. Now motivation's cool, and this is definitely a motivational video, but what exactly does that have to do with having a bit of chaos in your life or being less orderly and less kind of routine orientated, having that messy freedom? Well, without routines and habits, rules, just arbitrary rules that you're enforcing, can offer a similar structure without the kind of black and white have to do it at this time. So for me personally, I use this for the gym. I don't use any routines or habits, or if I do, they're stacked on top of this. But my fundamental motivation behind it is fear, and I'll explain that further in the video. So if we want to use this, we should talk about when this should kick in. Well, you can't use it all the time. In fact, if you want that desperate fear, that real fear where you'll break down the wall to run away from it, ideally you don't face up to this at all. Because as we all know, when you face your fears, they tend to go away. You tend to overcome your fears by confronting them. And today, we actually want to embrace a certain type of weakness. We want to almost cower in fear of what we're choosing to be afraid of. With this in mind, what should we be afraid of? Well, ideally it should be something that hasn't happened yet, something that's based in the future, because then you can avoid it easily. It can be this big scary monster that you can add to and give detail to without ever facing up to it, thereby keeping the fear. But at a bare minimum, it has to be something that you do not encounter too often. So what exactly should it be? Well, if we're basing it in the future, it has to be something you're capable of avoiding. So wrinkles are no-go. So is balding for many. After that, it's basically down to your priorities. For me, I've cultivated a fear on what I call a pooch. It's your dad bod, your tummy folds, whatever you want to call it. Now honestly, this may very well happen, but by being afraid of it, I can push it as far into the future as possible. And more importantly, in the meantime, it's a massive motivation for me going to the gym. My goals and personal motivation do help motivate me go to the gym, but on the days I really don't want to go, I think of this fear, I think of this desperate fear I have of this pooch, and it nearly always works. For you, this can be a body part too if you'd like, or it can be a work-life balance, or social life, or type of relationship. The list goes on. But now the important part, the how. And it's simple. You need to feed your fear and give it detail. For me, going to the gym, I have a rule, and it's the rule of your suit jacket. I don't know how many people would know this, but on your suit jacket you tend to have 3 buttons, and they have a rule. First one, always buttoned. Second one, sometimes buttoned. Third one, never buttoned. So for me, I use this for the gym. It's always okay to miss a day. It's fine. Miss 2 days, sometimes okay, it's not on a good track. 3 days, it's never okay to miss 3 days. This is my rule, you don't have to follow it. But this is something I want to have. So, how do I stick with this? I make a list of things that I'm terrified of and I put them all into one picture. This is called stacking. Any one of these fears or these kind of small images of watching TV, that in itself isn't scary. But by combining all of them together, by stacking them, that terrifies the crap out of me. It's that's not what I want. This is what we want to do. These kind of mild, just meh sort of fears where you're just I'd like a little bit less time on Instagram. I'd like a little bit less time watching TV. I'd like to read some more books. All of these kind of small little things. When you're doing this, I want you to stack all of these fears. This person that you don't want to be. So I think, who doesn't go to the gym 3 days in a row? It's going to be some middle-aged, belly overflowing over his jeans, who's watching TV at night, on his own, with takeaway, greasy hands, who's going bald. Yes, I'm afraid of going bald, so we're going to use it here. If you've any, all of these have to be kind of genuine fears, and you just stack them all together. Or at least it has to be something that you don't want, or the opposite of what you do want. So for me, adding to that, what I do want is to read books. So this person wouldn't read books, wouldn't be articulate, wouldn't be able to make conversation past the sitcoms he watches on TV, perhaps. I want to be someone who's caring, so maybe this person is like selfish and self-gratifying and just concerned with these like immediate pleasures, and is like bad with money because, again, immediate pleasures, or is all of these things. You stack them all together and you make them into one picture, and it really should terrify. Like, okay, it terrifies me. That's all I know. Now, here's where we really add detail. We could take this 2D picture that we've made up and we've stacked all our fears and we breathe some life into it. And we do that by asking, could this be you? And the answer is yes. Because life could beat you down into this desperate place. And that is something to be afraid of. But I want you to ask, like, can you understand the mindset that would be in this person that lives this life? Can you feel that lack of energy, that lack of meaning, that lack of motivation, or lack of company, or whatever it is that comprises your own personal little hell that we're trying to make up here? Because that's what we're trying to do. Now, with this picture of your own personal little hell, can you feel how desperate you would be if you were stuck in it? And can you feel how desperate you are to avoid it? Because maybe you wouldn't be strong enough to get out of it. Maybe it would hold you there. This is the way to use fear. To look around at all the different ways of being and realize that not all of them are worth living in your eyes. And to fight to survive. That's the primal instinct that we're trying to tap into. It is that fight for survival, to save your life, or to save it like your child's life, or save something you love. Is that really primal, bloody, prehistoric, unstoppable, just fear and desperation. That's what we're trying to tap into. I want you to be so afraid of whatever it is that you choose to be afraid of that you're willing to lose, or it's possible that you would lose a friend or a partner, or you'd quit your job, or you'd move house to avoid this desperate fear that you have. And I'd prefer if you never had to leave your partner for this, or quit a job because of this fear. But it's remarkable how much you will do, or how often you'll go to the gym to save your relationship, when compared to how often you'll go to the gym because you want to look decent. And also, maybe there's a certain part that, and this is a side note, it's not quite related to this topic, but maybe it's not so bad that you're kind of tapping into a certain drive to fight for a relationship, or fight for whatever, even if it's in your head. Maybe, and I kind of think it does, it makes you more likely to fight for the relationship when real life fights come along, when you actually have to fight for your relationship. So maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe there's a couple of like different effects. You know? So that might be a kind of strange place to leave it on, and this might be quite an intense sort of video. But before I leave you with it, I do want to say that I've talked quite a lot about fighting for life and that fight for survival. And you have to realize that not everyone might identify with that. And there might be some people, like, everyone has that drive, everyone has a fight for survival, but some people might aim it inwards, and that's never good. And they might say, what's the point, or why bother, or who would notice? So if you associate yourself with any of those phrases, I'm going to leave some numbers here for like Pieta House and Samaritans that you can kind of talk to and just expand those points, because like, you need to be around. What's the world if there's no one here to like witness it and kind of just interact with? Like, you know, animals can't like notice the beauty around, or they don't appreciate what's around as much. Like, you know, it's human psychology that makes the world like truly complex and beautiful. I think that's what got me out of it. So yeah, call the numbers if you need, and I hope If this video didn't work for you because of that sort of stuff, I hope that you worked through it, and I hope that you can see this video or something similar or something along the lines in the future, and you can feed it off the energy, use the tool that I'm on about, not just get rid of the sadness, but like push forward to like more on the other scale as well, where it's positive, you know? See you in the next one.